All right, we should have that fixed. I want to check. Let's go back and use this opportunity as people are gathering to check and see if this fucked up ass timing is fixed. Ooh, I almost caught it. I almost caught it. Oh, this mic. All right, we're gonna check this fucked up ass timing, y'all. That was the issue. This timing was fucked up. I had to reset everything and then shit wasn't working. That was the issue. This timing was fucked up. I had to reset everything and then shit wasn't working. All right, it looks a lot better. We're gonna hit it with the quick bell test. Yeah, it looks like we good. People. Sorry about that. Thanks for rocking with me. Welcome back, everybody. All right, we look good. We looking good. All right, let's swap over. Stream is looking healthy. I switched cameras, so hopefully we'll stop having that issue. Gotta order me a new webcam anyway. Maybe that USB extension I'm using, I'm not sure. Let's get in this new party. Sorry about that, Charlie.
Yeah, hierarchy.
Okay. Rev. President.
Is
wrong. Kill his ass. Murk that nigga.
Nah.
Wait, what?
Y'all,
No,
sorry about that. I had to restart my
go.
stream. Go ahead.
Okay. VIP bio.
Did you say VIP or VP?
No, I didn't mean to say VIP. I meant to say VP. My bad.
He's not a very important person here.
Sergeant at Arms. It starts with a B.
Alright, that's close, but
Can I get an MC invite, y'all?
Can we get it like?
I don't know him much.
He goes by 2 names.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
Fluffed it.
Alright, sorry. I don't know him much.
It's Boogie. We're a group.
Boogeyman.
Okay. I go back. I know the rest. Can I see the rest?
Go ahead.
Try it again. You can restart if you want.
Okay.
Blood, quit being a goofball.
You get 3 strikes, just to let you know.
3 strikes and you're out.
Alright.
Go ahead and stand right in the gas for us. Thank you.
Alright. President.
Blood, you
Rev,
goofball.
VP bio. Sergeant Arms Boogie. Secretary is Martinez, but they're trying out. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Are you reading the list? Are you on Discord?
No.
Can you confirm that?
Confirm.
Put your hands in the air.
Hands in the air.
Still like not out of the game, but he has an ear.
Wait, how do you do that?
That just keep going. Just
Yeah,
check
go
Discord,
ahead.
guys. Go ahead.
Who's the
You left
enforcer
off with
one? Who's
Rimu.
enforcer? Yeah.
Lucifer.
God. Load was itching to shoot him in the head.
Her.
Who's the tail
My
gunner?
bad. My
Who's the
bad.
tail gunner?
Tail gunner. title?
Yep, the very angry, what is the Irish? I'm joking.
Aussie cunt.
Very
Who's a
angry
prospect and game
Australian.
manager?
Distance in the light wolf.
I don't know. Sorry.
Wow, bloody
What
goofball.
the
Did that
fuck
guy ever
happened
come
there?
over?
Alright, so
Say,
look,
okay,
look,
man,
look,
I was
guys,
wrong.
for real, straight up.
No,
more
they
fucking-
never. Are
no
you
more
kidding me?
C4s
They all.
underground.
They.
Sticky bombs,
This
whatever.
is. This
No
is
more of that
their
shit.
cult, right?
I
This is
understand.
where they
Far.
are. This is
Let's
their
let that
community,
person
and
shoot.
especially the
Hell of a
ones
shotgun.
that are number
let's-
one, little
let's
mini
announce one person
celebrities
to
in this
shoot.
ridiculous
Put on one.
community. They enjoy that.
Uh-oh.
And number two, they make a little bit of money. I mean, it's really
Oh,
pathetic.
my
Like they're
God,
not
what
like
was that?
Deepak
Who
Chopra
told
who
us
has
he throws on the
$150
ground?
million.
It was Blood's goopy, so. Go ahead, shank him. Shank
There ain't
him.
no road cap now. That.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep, that's easy.
You're
Yep,
right,
yep,
you're
yep,
right.
yep, yep. From
Their
there.
identity.
Um,
And so when proven
where
wrong,
was I?
which happens on a daily basis,
We
You
were
were,
going
you were
randomly.
everywhere, honestly. When you blew up,
Didn't do
pieces went
anything. They're
everywhere,
not
so
gonna
you're
I
everywhere.
Say
I
it to help,
that's
thanks for
probably
alert.
the overwhelming majority, if not all, of the primary
Alright,
flat
relax,
earthers,
guys,
the
come
ones
on.
that have the larger
The
channels and
treasure
stuff,
is
are fully aware
Tyronic.
that they're completely full of shit.
Okay.
You know, Weiss, I'm almost certain knows
All right.
because he's making
I
a
had
lot
to
of money
leave,
off of it. Or not a
restrain for a
lot,
little
but
bit.
you know, enough to like not have some
Who's
crappy job.
Who's the one position
and all
that
those
we
other guys.
that
I mean,
we're the only club that has
this
it?
is- you had like it's been demonstrated to them so clearly,
We
so
have a
many
position
times.
that no other
I mean,
club
Weiss
has.
himself,
And who's
it's
the,
like in that
No, I think you
exchange,
should be
there
able
were
to hear
so
everything
many
now.
moments where
Who's
what
that
I said
wearing?
was so
patch that he's
undeniably
wearing.
clear.
Oh,
And his position was
wicked
so
Keith thing.
undeniably indefensible that he was
Captain.
either
Wicked
completely
Keith thing.
speechless for an extended
So
period
who's
of
that?
time, or
I'm
he
gonna say
desperately
Great.
asked to change the
Who's that?
subject and
Yeah, I saw
acknowledged
that. Who's
that
that?
all he wanted to
who
do
is
was
it?
change the subject because he had absolutely
Thanks a
no
lot,
way of
James.
responding. Now you tell me, somebody
Alright,
who
where
is
am I-
searching for truth,
We're asking you,
somebody
you
who
tell
is
us. We know
interested
it.
in
Let's
the
get over to
facts,
my
What do you
club
think?
why would
and
they
then
behave
I'll
that way? Why would they take something that's so
Who is
crystal
she?
clear
Make sure
and
we're
dodge
good
it
for
like a
later.
bullet?
Yeah, Yoshi.
He's
Now,
a
what is-
charlatan.
what is-
There's
what
no
is- what
two
is
ways
he?
about it. I've been getting a lot of, not
So
a
you
lot,
guys
but
missed us
I'd say
kind of
80%
lining up
people
and riding
are on
over
board with the
there.
tone that
I
I
didn't
used
do
in
that
the
with the
exchange, but I get a
club
lot
because I
of
was
David
taking
being
care
such
of
a jerk.
switching
It's like, look,
devices.
you don't understand. This is not.
But
this is not a discussion
we ride
happening
like
in
in
Pocket, can you
formation
give me
This is
in
not
order.
somebody who's looking
Oh,
for
sorry
facts.
about that,
This
guys.
is this charlatan who makes
Yeah,
money
yeah,
as a
thank you.
grifter by lying to people.
It's
This is the
the
Saying
zone
sorry,
he
we
deserves.
missed that because I
Every
was
time I
dealing
prove he's
with
wrong
my
to his
shit.
face and he tries to change the subject, that's why he
Yes.
deserves mockery. That's why he deserves a sledgehammer of facts across
What
the
is the
face.
sacred quote?
Right, and that's
Only
why I
violence
did what
you
I did.
guys,
I held him under my
nobody
shoe for
else.
an hour so everybody could see how pathetic he is. And
Wow,
I
you
guarantee you it made,
Oh
it
wait,
made an
we missed
impact
the
on him.
position.
Wow.
guys.
Oh, that was an
That's all right,
intense
you
discussion. One of the
If you
things you
wanna
said
ask
up front
more.
that I thought was relevant for those who feel some
We
type
missed
of way
one
about
position.
your attitude or
You're
your rhetoric.
responsible, right?
You pointed out his
too.
conclusion,
Yeah,
the way
me too.
he's drawn this is
No,
exactly what I was
You
saying
missed the
earlier.
wise man.
They're
Who's
either
that?
I honestly think
saying
That game looks
in effect,
really good. I
should
would
be
do it if it
everybody's
was
a liar.
multiplayer. We'd probably be into
or
it.
everybody's an
for a while.
idiot,
Which is
in effect,
profoundly insulting. either way.
just
Plus,
by
I'm
the
not back.
stance alone.
I think it should be a
Whereas
whole club.
it seems like in your
But
case,
I do have some questions
some
for you.
actually believe this stuff,
Can you
and
list off
some
what 1% is?
just aren't aware, and others are
For
aware, and
weapons?
they're just
Yeah,
AR.
some believe it. Otherwise, you couldn't.
All right, they're
make money
running
off
down a
it.
prospect right now.
They
Just
make
to call it
the people
rundowns.
who
They're
are given
making sure
money
they
in
know
super
the
chats,
rules.
Special
and
ammo
stuff
on
like
any of
that.
those.
They're like, oh, go guys, you're exposing the truth. I mean, somebody has to be falling for it. There has to be a mark
Like
for any con.
explosive
There's a
rounds
mark.
or armor
If there's no
piercing
mark,
rounds.
there's no con, and if there's no con, there's no money. So
What about the
they're making money. I mean, it's just so hilariously pathetic. Like they're not even good.
Automatic shot.
They're not even good charlatans. They're not good conmen. Like there are other ones. Like I don't know. In the anti-vaccine one, I talk about Andrew Wakefield.
What about
who
an
made a
SMG?
boatload of money. It is still making boatloads
this.
of money, fleecing the anti-vax
so.
stuff. So, and he's, I mean, he's a horrible, horrible, horrible man. But
You
he's
gotta factor
pretty
in that
smart.
when you're on your
He
bike,
figured out a
you're
way
using,
to make
SMGs
a lot of
usually.
money off of this. And
You
these
know what kind
guys,
of
they
girls
just
will
pick
do?
something that's so ridiculous
I
that, like, how many people are you going to
think your
trick? I
guys-
mean, there's maximum a few thousand
And
flat earthers
yes,
in the entire
and-
world. But, you know,
I don't know why I could throw
this
the
is their
blade
thing,
through.
right? If you believe the Earth is flat, it's your
Bloody
entire
goofball.
identity.
I'll give you a hand.
It's not a casual belief. Right.
Right.
It's a very, you're
Oh, you already
all
said
in,
it.
and you're all about this red pill, blah blah blah, and this is what you talk about all
Red
the time.
pill,
and these
blah,
are the
blah,
people
blah.
that
There you go.
That you,
Don't if
that
you
you
throw
correspond
those,
with, and
don't they blow up?
this is like
Yeah, I'll get
the next
this
one.
is your way.
What's the three quarters?
It's a way for when you have someone who is a delusional
3 minutes to
narcissist, but also incredibly stupid. They have to deny all of reality
I'm
in order
actually
to prop
gonna
them
turn
to
this up.
Respect, brother.
Yeah.
It is, but now it's loyalty, respect, and familyhood. Family.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
Making it a little
recently
more,
just changed it for you guys.
making it a
Blood,
little
you can
more
have your
female
gas can
friendly.
back.
Yeah.
But you can have your gas can back. Wait.
Actually, while you guys are doing this, I'm gonna edit that.
I think you could.
Where's the sacred
And
discord?
then I'll probably change my scene over in a sec.
Well,
Sacred quote.
we'll teach
Let me
you.
see.
Okay. What is the 19 and 4 stand on your patch?
It means STA, and that's in the alphabet.
Okay.
What's it
I
say
was
for?
expecting to shoot him in the head.
Why is this still showing me
my
the
bad.
same screen? Alright, hang on.
Sorry, I get
Oh, is
confused.
it the full one?
Yeah, very confusing.
Not really.
If you want to move to the prospect stage, it's quicker. What should you do?
Oh fuck.
Yeah, the goal was just to listen to that while the church was happening, since you guys couldn't hear them talking.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Okay, and then wear your right uniform.
I don't really want to listen to Counter-Apologetics all day.
Do that.
Cut
Uniform
thing.
outfit, yeah,
Back.
outfit, cut, emblem.
And I don't
Show-
know the other ones.
Show more.
Oh, be active.
There you go.
Yep.
And then also, this is something that I don't think you was aware of back in the day, but we
So you
actually
think-
give you a week off if you can get a recruit.
I don't get why she
But-
takes that personally. I
If you
mean,
get a recruit, and even if it
she's a
doesn't work out,
YouTube apologist.
we'll knock a week off the sentence. So if, let's say, or our typical way would be, 6 months.
Uh-oh. Cabul's gonna be like, dude, I should have been a fucking member already.
If you got like a week off,
You know he is.
I mean, if you got a recruit, you'll get a week off. So it'll be 5 months and 3 weeks. I'm not saying that it's gonna be 6 months. I'm just giving a random example.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's cool.
What does standing guard consist of?
My favorite question.
Consist of, well, just standing there and with your AR.
And
There's a
boogie
couple.
So you don't look at the TV, you just play on your phone.
Oh! Always being aware.
Yeah.
Okay. Aware what though?
Since it's church.
No, we're talking about like lobbies in general.
Oh!
Public lobbies.
Yeah.
Okay, so, of the KOSs, of course. That's... Is there...
Guys, I think we should just give it to them.
What's the first
you
thing
have,
you... Go ahead.
you have to watch out and make sure who joins the lobby and who like leaves. Like you
Yeah.
gotta make sure that you watch your brother's backs no matter what. Brothers and sisters.
Always
my bad.
inform us if someone else is joining that lobby that's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Whether
Like,
it's
for example-
or not.
For example, we're in an invite-only session. The only ones that should be in here is us. So if you're checking your radar and checking
Somebody
your
glitch in, let us know.
If
Yeah.
I see another person, then
yeah.
let y'all know. Or vote.
Martinez is going ham on
Rambo,
our
are
body.
you
What is
okay?
Rambo, what did she do?
I gotta. I'm gonna help her out.
Okay.
She seemed
He's
distressed.
fighting demons.
Fighting demons. That's fine.
Alright, go ahead.
What's color Bow's underwear?
Oh, fuck out of here, James
Uh,
Apperson.
It's
White.
pink lace with white cream color, whatever.
That is just.
This was a question
that's just
for
the way
Aqua.
it is. No,
Why?
that's not even a controversial
No.
opinion.
No.
I am so
soul.
with that. Oh, it did
Well,
repeat it. I was trying to get it to not repeat it.
Whitey-tighties, so.
I think it repeats it. I don't know why it repeats it. It doesn't repeat it when you
It's
guys do it. It just
black
does it when I
briefs.
do it.
I had to lick
okay.
myself. Don't feel bad. I don't know why this is a question, but it's what you want.
It's a tradition, man.
Jesus Christ.
What's Capone's middle name? I'm playing.
Sacred.
Alright.
I like that. I like that.
Alright, so honestly, Aqua, dude, a lot better from last week. You only came up with like 2 to 3 questions and answered 2 or 3 of them. Well, you got answered a lot, but you answered like 2 or 3 of them last week. You answered a lot, so I see that you're like
I
literally.
was like at home, like just staring at my screen, and like I really want to I've been a prospect for so long, and I just want to be a pastor. That's literally all I want to do. So I just studied, and even when I went like to go pee, I was on my phone.
To be honest, I just think it's a tactic.
Yeah, there you go. Like I said,
I just
like
think it's
last week when we asked you,
it's
you
an
answered, like,
argument
2 or 3
from
of
how
them
dare
out of
you.
A lot that we asked.
That way
And
we
you're
stay away
showing a
from
lot
the
more
stuff they
this-
really don't want us to talk
we
about
can see it.
because they don't really have good responses to it. To be honest with
that-
you, this is the type of thing that
put my
motivates me
gun
from
away.
the beginning, right? Like I do actually
I'm
think
gonna
it's
wave
a
at you.
form of child abuse. Matter of fact, I supported
also got one
the
more
idea
question for
of
you.
like them being sued, like these organizations. I think they need to be
who's your
sued in
favorite?
court.
Everyone.
There we go.
There we
You
go.
don't like.
Everyone is your favorite.
I like everyone.
Sorry.
Aqua. Okay. Love you.
Okay.
My best friend now.
BFS forever.
Alright, now everyone
Hold on,
inside
hold
the
on.
sacred tree.
That's friends now, dude.
Right.
You got
Yeah,
champagne?
exactly. Yeah, it is child mental abuse.
shoot.
They just don't want to. They don't want to face
wait,
it.
no,
That's what I
Matt- no,
mean,
Matt's like,
right?
let's talk to us,
And when
yeah.
somebody really says something you really can't
about
deal
y'all.
with, that's what you do.
Hey,
You
Bio,
go to.
can I go ahead and
How
send
could you
Filthy
say
to
that
the
about me?
Discord?
I'm so insulted that
Yeah,
you would
of course.
accuse me of
If
something.
you guys don't mind, Matt's got me
Okay,
to talk to
how
a few of
about
us and everything real
we're
quick.
insulted about what you're
you guys are
doing,
down for
right?
underground training?
And again, you are setting them
around.
up for
Stay-
failure.
stay for a bit, all right?
This is why I'm
Yeah,
out
but
here.
let's
I'm a
take like
science
a 30-minute break.
educator, right?
Yep.
Like that's the problem I deal with as a science educator. People come into the classroom with this type of nonsense in their head, and they got to get a quick reality check that they've been spoon-fed delusions their whole lives. It's awful. It's awful. And I actually think people like Ken Ham and all of these people, like they need to be sued. Until they're literally like held accountable for abusing people, like pretending your shit's a museum and it's not, all of that type of stuff. It's just utterly reprehensible. All right, guys, but we're gonna try to. I'm gonna try to stay focused. See what's going on, so you guys can hear what we're doing.
I'm gonna go
Pac,
on
are you there?
a little joyride.
Yeah, I'm here. What we about
Okay.
to do?
We're gonna go conversate with mascot.
Oh yeah. Over. You want? Is it gonna be a private chat?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. He already invited, so go ahead, join it.
All right, just send me over there.
Damn, he's quick. Is he on PS5?
No.
Jesus Christ, man. My
You want
PS5
me
All right, I gotta
is
check out this
old.
other party. We gotta see what's going on.
I'll ask him, but I think he
Do
just
some
wants to talk
wise
to, like,
man duties.
the
Apparently,
ones
there's
that were
probably
close up with the
some
guys.
shit
It's-
going
I think
on. I
it's
guess this is the one right here.
Okay.
All right, what up?
I invited everybody to my apartment, therefore, whenever we get done with this, we get started.
Yeah, if
Join the
that,
other chat and get started with that.
that apartment invite is clutch.
Yep. Do I got any strippers I could bring in?
No, this is not a matter for strippers. Actually, every matter is for strippers, still.
Yeah, I think it definitely is a matter for strippers. But
Yeah, that's true. And James
Wish I don't
Apperson,
have
the other
one,
thing
so-
I was thinking about the other day is that when it comes to this stuff, we're really on the other side, right? Like when this religious war pops off that they're fantasizing about, we're gonna be on the opposite side. So it's nice to be friendly, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Picture.
Alright. Winnie Pocket. Alright, there you go. So, it's... And this is coming straight from Asian, and Mason was in the party with, not in the party, on the phone with him too. So, Mason left because he felt like nobody, like, gave him the time of day, like, nobody talked to him, like, and he was kind of an outcast in his mind, which I can see that because he's not very open about anything, so, like, you kind of have to push him in order to, like, get him to open up. Load knows that.
Yeah, but see, like, with that situation, how could they do that? Like, how can he force somebody to talk if they don't want to?
Yeah.
Also, he's not that active. It's not like he's not in the chat. Like he's not. Dude, I might have seen him like 10 times since he's been in the club. I've been going based upon like other people like talking, you know, like talking about him, and based upon like his status from LG. So it's like that's how he got moved up to full patch, was that, you know, we went based upon what like Load brought up, like, hey, these guys are good, they're somewhat active, they're following the rules pretty well, they're not breaking any rules. Boom, let's give them full patch. You know?
Yeah.
It probably would have been better off if we fucking had him actually go through hangarounds and prospects. Because this way we would have had somebody assigned to him to be his sponsor and actually get to know him a little bit better.
Yeah. But the part that actually got me an Asian, and this is the reason the Asian left, is because Malice, and this is not pointed towards anyone, when I say this, Malice and Rambo were kind of making jokes about how Mason felt. And that's what got Asian irritated and mad, because that's his best friend. And so, well, this is all coming from him, so anything that you hear me say came straight from him. But he kind of snapped in party. No real hierarchy was in there besides, actually, I don't think Rambo was in there. I think the only hierarchy was Daisy. But even Daisy said to, like, don't make fun of him, and, like, that was one of our brothers. And that's the part that kind of got me. Asian stopped me from coming into church and getting very angry because of what happened. Because I know how Mason felt. Like, when I first joined this club, I felt kind of like an outcast, because, like, nobody really, like, kind of talked to me besides Load and Blood, of course.
Hey, I met what? How many times we play fucking COD together?
Look, chill out. That was when I hit Prospect. We started hanging out with a little bit more.
True. Okay.
But this is why we need to ask, like, some of our members, like, how they feel, like, because this can become a reoccurring thing if we let it happen. Like,
but see, that's the thing that we do. We ask how are you liking the club almost like every other rundown. How you liking the club so far? Is everybody treating you right? I've asked that question a couple times to the members.
Yeah, but to some of the full patches that, like, are not, like, very social with us, so to speak, like, we kind of need to check up on them and see how they're doing. Like, and I know where Nerdsy's coming from, because I talked to him about this. He said that if he doesn't know them very well, then he is not gonna, like, step out of his comfort zone and ask them how they're feeling, which I'm that type of person that would do that.
Alright, so hold on. Hey, hold on, real quick. How you feeling, mascot?
I'm feeling pretty good. Not bad. Can't complain.
That was good. You expect me to ask that to every fucking body?
I do.
Really? You expect me to ask that to everybody?
I mean,
I see how you doing. How's your day going, bro? But not how you feeling. Are you sad? You sound sad. You know? If you sound sad, then come on, put your finger in there.
Yeah.
But like nobody's gonna sit there and ask like every day, like, "Hey, you doing good, bro? How's life? How's life?" No, that's just intriguing to somebody's lifestyle.
It's not every day. It's like
Put it in the
every other day. Like if they seem down, like ask them like, "What's going on, dude?" They need to
y'all
like,
could
talk
call
to
in,
somebody about
but
it.
I am
Like,
gaming,
How
so
do we know if the dude is down?
But yeah, you can call in if you want.
If they don't,
if they don't talk,
if they don't talk,
You just gotta let me know you're calling in, so I know to pull up
that's
the
what Blood
restream.
does. He won't talk about anything unless you actually like kind of
that fucker talks about everything.
Nah.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. He's saying.
Oh, you know what?
I
probably the link was probably pinned on the last one.
Right, but how are we supposed to ask? Like, you want me to like engage your lifestyle and everything? Like, me personally, bro. I get on the skate and have fun. I don't talk about my real life as much as like I do, but I don't. I'm not gonna sit there and talk deep down about my life, like my back past and everything, like what I went through and all that shit.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. It's like stuff that's happening like real time, like stuff that like they need somebody to talk to about. Like, and one of us can be that person that they talk to and like open up to.
Which is why we got a guy named White Man called Pocket.
Yeah, they just gotta reach out to us on Discord or whatever. But I think we're talking about two different things. I mean, we definitely want to be there for people that are having a hard time, but they also got to tell us, and like to have drama happening in the club, and then I left because my feelings was hurt. I mean, that's just a lot of, it's too much, right? Like, you're supposed to be like, oh, this was said or that was said, and then you talk about it or you bring it up to somebody.
All right, so mascot, you just became a patch member. Last weekend, we had another officers meeting. I was actually in the process of bringing Tex up as world captain. That was our officers meeting, bro. It was me introducing Tex into becoming world captain. And mascot said, "Not right now."
Your thoughts?
I feel like, Tex, my bad, bro. But Tex is like, "Not right now."
What's up, James? Can you hear me?
Dismissed by a percentage of.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
It's not.
Yes. How's it going?
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot I even still had this table, but I'm going okay. Just talking to my son about what he wants for dinner.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody was.
You ever heard that saying on unspoken mouth?
Oh, it's okay. I came back like a few minutes after the
if he doesn't speak up and like actually reach out to somebody, we're not
so much happening that I just
know that something's wrong.
I just forgot it was.
I put the club in my earphone so people can hear you. But yeah, I don't think we owe the people this type of thing. Matter of fact, in some sense, part of my issue is that I think we're too friendly with the other side.
Sure, it's a catch-22 because if we're completely militant about it, we just alienate them. They dig in further. We cause them to like double down on stupid. To defend their position. And if we're neutral about it, then nothing happens. And if we're overly friendly about it, then we're like, kind of sending the signal that they're okay.
And to be honest with you, from a practical position, I think that that favors them. Because at the end of the day, I think we're right and they're wrong in a way that's beyond our opinion of the matter, right?
Sure.
They won't accept that. They'll say, "Oh, well, that's just your take on it or whatever." But in a very deep and profound way, right? And so here's the thing: like, where people talk about like great conflicts and wars, right? And you think about there's like a David versus Goliath, right? There's the Confederacy versus the U.S. There's like some military insurgency against some deeply established government.
Yeah.
So my thing is what I've heard about that is if you're the smaller fighting force, you're just trying to make this too costly for them. You're just trying to like almost win like a battle of attrition. You don't think you're gonna win and dominate them and conquer them. You just want this
Right.
to be a little bit more costly than they can sort of bear, right? And to me, that's what they do. It's like they know they're wrong. They have completely committed and doubled down to being, public flag bearers of irrational positions, right? And they're like, hey, Rebecca says this all the time. There's no such thing as bad press. Well, if that's your attitude, which I get it, you're a YouTube creator, cool. But then roll with it. You made your bed, now lay in it. There's no such thing as bad press. If you want to, I felt the same way. This is why I went off on her on my channel before I did the Hot Program interview, was because I first knew of her as like the friendly theist that would show up on all the atheist channels. And I was like, oh, great. This Rebecca person, she's part of our community. She's so wonderful. This is great. Then I found her channel and I was like, oh, I didn't know you had your own channel. This is cool. You say you're not an apologist. You say you're an evangelist, but all your channel's apologetics. All right, interesting, whatever. Still kind of cool. You still let the atheist on and you let them take over. And Lena made a point that I agree with. I don't think she'd mind me naming it. It's just that she said that she's like paid some of the cost for that, right? If it's lost theist viewerships or alienation from friends and family. And I certainly tip my hat to that. That's legit. But then I found but I've heard her say things like, oh, if I could just let go of this young earth creationist position, I could be one of the cool kids. Like I've heard her say that on maybe Doug's channel or whatever, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like recognizing that, oh, this is my scarlet letter, and if only by some supernatural force I could let go. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then I found her. What was I going to say? I found her examining evolution channel, right?
Yeah.
Which is an explicitly anti-evolution, quote unquote. Let's do the debate. That's not a debate thing, right?
Right.
And so go ahead.
I've tuned into some of Sal's, because Sal live broadcasts his coaching of her. He coaches her on how to avoid.
No.
Yes, he coaches her and he live streams it. I think it's probably still on his channel. I don't think he privatizes it.
Really?
So you can go there and watch them where she's like, well, what if they say this and what if they say that? And and she knows, she admits she's completely unqualified for those debates. But with Sal's help, she can fake her way through it, because you don't have to be qualified in order to represent her position, because her position is just head games and wordplay and dodging and weaving and
what do you say? Not what is the issue at hand and what is the substance of the matter, but what do I say when they say this?
Yep.
Right? So to me, again, you are, I hate to say this, you're the man in the arena.
Right.
Go ahead.
Sal let me ask a question in chat, and he answered it. Usually he ignores chat, but he kind of sometimes pays attention to it. So I asked him a question that kind of stumped him, like that he couldn't reconcile his views about evolution with his theology. And I wasn't trying to do a gotcha. I literally just wanted to know how he harmonized this particular issue. And his response was, oh, you got me. You scored a point for your team or whatever. And I'm like, if this would have been a live thing where I was there speaking, I would have corrected him right then and there. I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm not trying to back into a corner, expose you. I'm not doing a Pine Creek on you right now. I literally just wanted to know how you harmonize these ideas.
But that's the beauty of Pine Creek, is he tells them to just go into the trap. Because the truth is, James, you did do a gotcha.
But I wasn't trying to.
I know. I'm just saying all the good questions are gotchas, right? Like this is what happens when you've decided to make a profession. And I've been sort of dancing around it, but I want to go more explicitly to Cameron's question of too friendly, because I don't like to awkwardly interrupt the conversation to get a chat. I still haven't figured all that out yet. But but the reason I say we're too friendly is James, you and I, let's say we became really good friends, and as part of being really good friends, you didn't want to hurt my feelings, right?
Okay.
And so, you know, I might have some issues with my confidence. Maybe I have some relationship troubles, trouble at work, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I might really struggle with is the fact that in this scenario, let's say I'm 4'9", right?
Okay.
You might try to convince me of a lot of things about myself. Hey, Jay, I think you're a pretty nice guy. You know, hey, look, you've got like almost 200 subscribers on YouTube. Like, you know, I know there are a lot bigger channels, but you just started. People think what you're doing is worthwhile. Like, hey, science is pretty cool. You know, like you might give me some value. At any point, would you try to convince me that I was tall?
No, I would not.
Right? Because there would just be some way at which like that would just be like inappropriate, right?
Sure.
Like I'm just not tall, right? And I think what we do in this field a lot, like part of my journey to this community was I got tired of watching atheists versus Christians debates, and the one of the things I got sick of with the debates was like we were always given the equal time thing, right? It felt like almost like they achieved their goal in these debates that they can't achieve in the classrooms. Like if they have it their way, we'd have to give evolution and creationism equal time in the classroom, right?
Yep, absolutely.
They can't get that, but during the debate, we give them equal time, right? And then it's hosted by some jerk off Bible college, right? Biola University, right? So jerk off Bible college is like, only two great minds can engage in such debate of the greatest question. Which, like, bro, who said your religion is the greatest question, right? Like
they always say that. We sure don't say it.
Yeah.
They even say it about the question about God. It's always the most profound question anybody ever asked. And I'm like, no, it isn't.
It's actually a pretty silly question if I want to be honest about it. Like it's literally one of those things where if somebody asks you about anything else, like, oh, dude, what do you think about the intergalactic chocolate chip cookie that created the universe? You'd be like, oh, yeah, I don't give that much thought at all. Right, because there's no reason for me to think about that, right? Like that. So that to me is what it's really on par with. Other than the fact that like you were raised to believe this, I understand that. So bless your heart. I'll try to be gentler about your particular cookie.
And I don't take it personally that they have these weird beliefs and that they have these immature minds. I feel bad for them. Like if there's a way for me to help kind of ease them into a little bit of maturity, then I'm here for them, But I realize.
So that's where I'm going with this is that I think that we are in some ways not actually addressing that issue. Right. So I was kind of teasing the universities. Hey, we're Biola University, right? And we're a great university. All right. But no, seriously, though, right? It's like the equal time thing. It reinforces this idea to them. Oh, you know what, guys? Really great minds don't really know. It's kind of a toss up, And yeah, you got your Christopher Hitchens of the world, but you got your William Lane Craigs, too.
So not only is it a
William
false
Lane Craig
dichotomy,
sells more books, right? Like or whatever the fuck. That's probably not true, but in the case of those two, but in a lot of cases, that's kind of how they reason, right? It's the same way they reason about their congregation, right? Like they're sitting there listening to the super charismatic pastor who's in charge of this really successful, reasonable ministry, and there's plenty of doctors and lawyers in their churches, and even some science teachers in their church, right? And there's 5,000 people here on Sunday morning, and we can't all be crazy, right? And we're the one bastion backwoods of the internet where like we're supposed to be starting from the no, shut the fuck up, y'all are crazy. I'm exaggerating, right? But a lot of times we double down and do the same thing, the same jerk off everybody else does to them. Oh, I think you're so smart. Oh, you're so reasonable for having this conversation. Oh my goodness, the fact that you even acknowledge that atheists exist and you're willing to engage them in panel discussions. Oh, you're so wonderful, right? And then and again, I'm not saying that you have to be me and be profane or be as direct or tell them they're all child abusers or be Lena and tell them they're all fascist or whatever.
Right.
Like you don't have to go full Cult of the Flying Man direct with it, but at least be honest and say, hey, you know what, I think you probably are otherwise a very reasonable, intelligent person, but I gotta be honest with you. This religion stuff I think is really silly. Or, you know what, that whole salvation concept, it's actually logically incoherent to me. Yeah,
It's logically incoherent, period.
Yeah. I don't get how if I believed in Jesus, I would get eternal life. That
how is
doesn't
it
make sense
morally
to
relevant?
me.
It's not morally relevant. It's not rational. It's just basically what it boils down to is they got this idea of a super father who created everything as a big board game,
Right.
just a board game with arbitrary rules, and now we all have to follow the rules that he made arbitrarily. Well, how does it make any sense? And how do they even know these are his rules? How do they even know he exists?
Right.
You know, and it's like,
With all due respect, I have more respect for this motorcycle club in GTA, which all of us have to work out our schedules and find a time to meet, and the rules change. Here's the thing that came up today, actually, that I brought up was when I first joined this club, we didn't have any female members. It had been a thing that had been tried. There's like always weird issues with gaming and role-playing clubs when, you know what I mean, people start to, when you get that purple, when the blue and red start to mingle. And it's something that bothered a lot of us, but it's sort of a thing in the motorcycle club. And anyway, over time, we finally changed that and we got female members and female officers, but our club quote has always been, or the three meanings of the club we always say are brotherhood, loyalty, and respect. And I did this whole deep dive on this issue where brotherhood is technically a gender neutral term, right? Terms like brotherhood, fellowship, fraternity, they're actually gender neutral terms. In other words, if you had a all female thing, you'd call it a sorority. If you had an all male thing, you'd call it a fraternity. If it was co-ed, you'd call it a fraternity. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it isn't like, oh my God, I'm offended, right? Because technically it's a gender neutral term. And a good example is I'm working on this mentorship program in evolutionary biology. I was originally going to call it the Evolution Fellows Program. Once I started meeting with my co-authors, one of our co-authors spoke up, actually a Harvard guy, Scott Edwards, super cool evolutionary biologist. He said we should change it to the Evolution Scholars Program because, you know, fellows we shouldn't use that term, right? It's gendered. And again, he's not an idiot. He doesn't not know that fellowship is a gender neutral term. He was just kind of like, it's 2022. Let's not even create this stumbling block out the gate, right? So the issue I brought up with my club was the same thing, which was I've heard some of our female recruits, when asked their three meanings of the club, do this awkward phrasing where they say brotherhood or sisterhood, loyalty, and respect. And I'm like, look, that's awkward as fuck. Let's not do that. And also, like, I don't think our female members are ever going to speak out on it and be like, hey, we should change this. But so I brought up, like, can we change this to just family, loyalty, and respect? Because it would be less, it would just be less awkward in the end, less fumbling, less explanation. And the point is, I said we're using a gender neutral term. Like, I'm not upset about it. I'm not trying to be woke. Right. I just noticed our female members using some awkward phrasing from time to time, and to avoid it, why don't we just change it to a explicitly gender neutral term like family, right? Gave everybody a week to think about it, brought it back up, and we voted on it unanimously, right? Everybody voted to change it, right? And that's been our thing for like 5 fucking years. My point is, we're a small group of people that has to agree to meet. We have to do with real life changes to our community, including the demographics changing. And even the rules that are homework, which we literally take sacred, our name is Sacred Death, they fucking change. And that's good. That is 1,000 times better than what you get in the Bible, which is, oh no, fuckface, when it says men only, what it really meant was that Eve is derived from the rib of Adam, so in our fuckface view, woman comes from man, and we're like, well, you're fucking wrong about that right there. No. Like, and you're right, it's like, yeah, see, the problem is you can't just revise your shit. That's the problem. Y'all can't just get together and revise it. And I realize this when they argue about the objective morality bullshit, because they always talk about God's perfect law. And I'm like, no, God's law sucks, and man's law is actually better. Like, that apologetic no longer works on me, because I've come to the point that man's law is infinitely better than God's, as much as it's permitted slavery, and we just overturn Roe v. Wade. We about to, at least, first off, we established that shit was wrong for 50 years, and we just realized, okay, the solution we had wasn't really the permanent one that we need. So it's gonna take us a minute, but we gotta fix this shit for real this time, right? And again, the thing is, it's at least fucking possible. But that thing about man should not lay with man, if so, it's an abomination or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's no way to make a cuddly remix of that.
No. And, you know, it's one of the many things that Rob would jump in to say, well, that's a mistranslation. And he always misses the point. I'm like, even if the original, you know, meaning or original words or whatever were different, you know, a god wouldn't go through so much trouble to write some crap and then forget to protect it so that the version we get 2,000 years later is some completely other thing. And then they just, whenever they want to, they can play any card they want. Oh, well, that's a mistranslation, and oh, that's a misinterpretation, or oh, you're not being led by the spirit to understand the true meaning of the words. Like they got this big deck, and it's all wild cards. Every card is just a wild card.
It's
just crazy.
It is. Cameron Bennett said, "Oh God, no, Rob." Yeah, I'm so anti-Rob, because I think his content is awful. Like, of all the apologists, like, I think his stuff is really bad. But I also think he's not, like, personally compelling. Right?
No.
Like, he just
spends an awful lot of time not making a point.
Yeah, and he's just not charming. And then I think his content is really boring. So
yeah.
It just doesn't work for me on all levels. But yes, to your point, I think this whole, and that's all we ever get, right? Is that nobody has the correct interpretation. It's why the thing with Richard Madsen is so interesting. Oh no, that book with the lineages in it, where it's like this person beget that person beget that person. Oh no! Those weren't really names. No, those weren't names. No,
the meanings in order, they create these complicated thoughts.
Yes. Oh, and when it said, you know, all of this stuff about God, you know, on the earth. Oh, did you guys think that meant this earth? No, that was that was an earth.
This earth. What a rookie mistake, man. He thought he meant earth. Nah. That's like Rob saying it said the whole entire earth, but it didn't mean the entire earth. It just meant this one little basin back in like some Stone Age or some crap.
Yes, like, with the local flood stuff too. Yeah. It's just so my thing is, right, I think it's fine to get along with these people, and if you're a friendly person, go ahead and be a friendly person. But they are arguing for some bullshit, y'all, and they're doing professionally. And here's my point about tactics. They're taking advantage of it, right? You got to remember, if I'll give you a perfect example with Gutsick Gibbon, right?
Uh-huh.
My channel is like nothing compared to her channel, right? Like, I don't exist. Nobody knows who I am compared to Gutsick Gibbon, right?
Right. Yeah, because you're still new.
Right. And so she could have just put some stuff up there and put, right? But she made me look like $1 million, right?
Yeah, it was I loved it.
Right, and it's because she was like, "Oh, our boy Jay's the hero here," right? And she does the whole bit and breaks down the debate, and then at the end, she goes straight into the comparison of the Death of Expertise book, right? Like, dude, I just finished grad school last year. Like, who the hell am I as a first-year postdoc to be in the same conversation as the book, The Death of Expertise, right? Like,
sure.
if you put 100 scientists in a room, I'm probably the least accomplished of them, right? I'm or like amongst the least accomplished because we're the babies. We just graduated, but that's what I mean. It's like when I do the Christopher Hitchens audiobook series, there's just something about looking back and going, Jay, you have no influence in the world. But God damn it, if you aren't there, you know, it's Christopher Hitchens' thoughts and your thoughts, and then Christopher Hitchens' thoughts and then your thoughts, right? And there's like that platforming effect that happens. And so, like, we do this a lot, and I know we do it because they're our friends and we know who these people are, right? But we go, oh man, thanks so much for coming on our show today. You guys, you're just really brilliant. This has been super enlightening. You've really given me... I did this to LPP the first time I came on LPP, right? Because he was saying stuff I'd never heard before. Oh, Jay, you never heard about the diesel crisis? You don't know about how our policy is responsible for the war in Russia? Right. And I'm sitting there like, nah, bro. Right. So when I go, I'm like, oh, man, thanks for having me on. You're giving me a lot to think about and look into. Right. Because I was having to look stuff up and stuff like that. Right. And that's what they want, because they're sitting on some bullshit. Most people who have any sort of, are paying attention or are reasonable don't know they exist, right? And they get somebody who comes on and seems like an otherwise reasonable person, is maybe even a skeptic or an atheist, right? And at the end, of course, they didn't convert the person. Well, nobody thought you could convert these crazy atheist skeptics anyway, right? But we go, oh, you're so wonderful and you're great and you're really well researched, and man, I could tell you're really ahead of the curve on this one, right? And so we put them over.
Yeah.
And that's a small victory for them. And so it's unfortunate, but they have learned to take advantage of that. To use it to get clips or to go into their next debate and say, hey, I sat down James Apperson, and even James Apperson admitted that there were no logical defeaters of this. Now, I couldn't convert him, but that's because he's a lifelong committed atheist. But he said there are no logical defeaters to my argument. And on top of that, he said he's not aware of any evidence to the contrary.
Right, so you become a new name for them to drop, and they try to leverage us against each other.
Right.
Take these little sound bites and run with them, and now we've got endorsement from the atheist community. How did you not know that we weren't now being endorsed by the atheists, and on this point at least? And it's frustrating. Sometimes we do give way too much. A couple weeks ago on the show, Jason, is Tom or Thorne? What's his last name? Jason.
Jason Torn.
Jason Torn. So Cy, who sounds exactly like Dennis Prager, like I keep thinking it's like right. So Cy was talking about how Jesus was the first person to ever even raise the issue of human dignity and mutual respect and human rights and things like that. To even not just before Jesus said these words, no human in the history of ever had ever said anything.
Oh my goodness!
That would be part of an ideological or values foundation for having respect for other people in any context. And it's such an outlandish claim. Like, I was in shock that he said this, even coming from a fundamentalist. That's some pretty strong, like, over the top nonsense.
Right.
Easily refuted. And then Jason responded after all of that to, well, I can see how you would say that. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, Jason, no. But when we got that many guys sharing the screen on Rebecca's channel, there's almost no chance to talk. Right. It's a special skill to be one of the guys who can keep managing to grab and wedge himself in and start a dialogue where he gets the next 5 minutes is him talking.
Well, I've learned a couple things. So one thing that I got from Doug is get little bits in there, right? Everybody wants to like take the floor and give their 10-minute thing.
Right.
So sometimes I try to do those like mic drop moments, because you're right. There's 10 people speaking, right? Like I got one time there's a big panel and they were talking about, you know, what was supposed to be the best argument for theism or whatever. I pulled out the little beep, the meter. I let it go off. I was like, beep, 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 beep. You know, that's my little spirit meter, right? Right? Like that would be it. I've got scientific evidence of the presence of the Holy Spirit, right? If you could literally do the ghost meters, the ghost hunters test, right? And that thing would go off, and then you went in there, and sure enough, it was the motherfucking Holy Spirit. And then after the spirit meter went off, you got the gift of tongues, right? But you don't have time to do all that, right? So it was like beep, beep, beep. Spirit meter 420 went off. I detected the Holy Spirit in this place. I just gave you scientific proof of God. Go. Right? Now that's wholly ridiculous and straw manning or whatever, and there's all sorts of problems with it, but you just don't, like you said, you don't have that kind of time. The other thing I benefit from is looking highly ridiculous. People always say I can tell your videos because, you know, the mood lighting distinguishes the thumbnail from the from the others. But yeah, sometimes people just like, oh, I saw you on this panel or that panel, and so what I've used is like, if you're gonna make me sit in the corner of the screen and not say anything for 45 minutes and then only really get to talk for 2 minutes, well, I might as well at least look compelling and have people wondering, man, who's that guy sitting over in the corner? He looks kind of interesting. That's different, right? Or at least, so, you know, like...
In that same show, I kept changing my avatar. I don't know if anybody even noticed. Did you notice it? Like every couple minutes I changed it and it was a different cartoon.
I did notice that. Yeah, I think that's another thing. Yeah, it's something like that. Like whatever, right? Just stealing... in pro wrestling, they call it, stealing eyeballs, right? Like pulling eyeballs, just stealing looks, just because that's sort of what a lot of times you're doing in something like professional wrestling. Like there's a long card, there's a lot of people. You're just trying to do something to get the people to pay attention to you or notice you or whatever. And sometimes it gets downright gimmicky, but that's right. It is sort of a economy of limited attention.
Right. Well, I just want people to know I was still there. Like, I'm still at my keyboard. I'm still here. Like, one time I changed my name to, I have a question for Kenny. I changed my name to that. And it was 2 hours later. I still hadn't had a chance to ask my question. He was gone. And then someone commented, they're like, oh, you changed your name to that. He's already gone. I'm like, yeah, it was that 2 hours ago. So it's like, you can't. I feel bad because every time I give her a little bit, right? Like can you still hear me?
Yes.
So I'll give her a little bit of credence on a point, but then it's only because I'm wanting to launch from there to a bigger point that takes the credit away. But then someone interrupts me to talk about logical fallacies or, Leo will want to interrupt with like technical points that he knows is so far over her head he's wasting his time. And then Chris will want to interrupt with, well, but your religion's all nonsense anyways, which, yeah, of course it is, but let's stick to the issues.
Right.
And so I always end up regretting that I give her these little moments of, okay, I'll grant you this point, but, and then someone interrupts me.
They're great to do in a longer conversation or a one-on-one call-in. It's just, it's too insecure of a thread to start right in the larger panel discussions. And honestly, some of what I did, I mean, to be honest, I started doing this to make friends, right? Like to have, I realized that like all the people, like I was getting more interested in sort of my YouTube live chat interactions than I was in say like, meeting with other scientists or whatever. I was like, you nerds just want to sit around and talk about like, proteomics of the transcriptome of some protein synthesis. And I'm like, yeah, half this country doesn't even believe evolution happened, so I'm going to try to go talk to them. You know, and so, go ahead.
It's so obvious that the creationists are bad faith actors. Because I'm always like, look, I know very little about evolution. I know enough about it to know that it's very well substantiated and to understand that creationism isn't even science.
But what about pew fillers?
Sure. I mean, that's important for them.
No, but I mean, like, what do you think about them? Are they bad faith actors? Like, are you a bad... Because to me, I think that gets at you're almost a bad faith actor.
Well, I mean, the people that come into debate, like...
oh, you mean actively in the community? Sure.
Yeah, actively.
Okay. If you're just spirit of Jesus, love of God, but you haven't thought about these more profound issues because you're just, just haven't... It's not on your radar. That's where I think most people are. Like, and again, part of the reason I think, like, if you think about, I was thinking about this the other day because I was watching I watch a lot of worship drummers because I'm a worship drummer, and I always check out their production and their camera angles, and I decided that I actually really like the view where you're behind the drummer and you can't see the drummer's face, but you can see pretty much the whole kit from behind, and you can see the crowd.
Yeah, that's a great...
And it's a great view because you can see what the drummer's looking at, right? And the crowd and everything. And I realized that part of my new argument of why it's easy to be a counter-apologist and a worship drummer is because they're not the same people, right? Like the people you see that are in front of me worshiping on Sunday morning, if there's, a small church, let's say, 200 to 500 people or whatever it is, I doubt if 10 of them know who William Lane Craig is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe 20, but 5 care, right? You know what I mean? Right. Like, and so our community, even amongst believers, is such a small set, right? And then when you get into atheist agnostics, they're not even there. And so to this point, like, to me, most people just is not a part of their life. They're just like, pray to Jesus, feed my family, try to go to church and lead the good Christian life, whatever they've been, enculturated to believe that to be.
Yeah, it's an important distinction to make, which is why the blog that we had me on the other week to talk about, like, that's why I start that blog that way, to clarify that, okay, yeah, there is these people who identify as Christians who just really haven't thought that deeply about it. And so they're not necessarily guilty or complicit in this other thing that I want to talk about. They're kind of their own subset. But yeah, it's an important distinction. When you come on these groups, I always tell the creationists, I'm like, look, here you are making all these arguments you think are brilliant to debunk evolution and prove creationism. But I noticed that you haven't passed peer review first. You're just like bypassing that whole process to take your fight to laymen, right?
Hang on a sec, guys. By the way, Lena said that Aaron Ra has a systematic classification of life playlist on his channel, which he does. And I actually just realized that I might pull some bullshit out of my ass because I love that series, and he also is the reason I call people monkeys. Actually, I call women monkeys. When I want to hit on a girl, I say, "You're a funky looking monkey." But he has a video basically on why we are actually monkeys, like for real, and I think it's great. And so I might actually do a video replying to or responding to that video. Actually, I probably won't do it tonight because I actually want to get through God Is Not Great because there's so many damn chapters of it. But yeah, maybe I'll do something like that soon. But yeah, to make a long story short, it's a great series, and I actually think that Aaron Ra makes a great case for why humans should actually consider themselves monkeys, not just apes, but monkeys. And I think he's right, and I think it's really good evolutionary biology. It just isn't what everybody is saying, and boy, it'll trigger theists and stuff so much that I think a lot of people will be reluctant to have that conversation, but that doesn't change the fact that I think that he's right.
Right.
Lena was in here. I was about to let her on, and then she dipped as soon as I went to press the button.
She said, "Okay, cool. I'll join in when they're done with this convo. Someone's done with the convo. I don't know."
Oh no, yeah, you can come in now. We're just chilling back here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what my club is doing. I think we're about to. I'm gonna ask them right now what we're doing. I don't know I don't hear anybody talking in the party. I don't know. I don't know why it's so quiet in here. Let's see what's going on. Are we in another party as well? Oh yeah, we're in the prospect to hang around chat. Okay, that's what's going on. Sorry, y'all. I was in the wrong chat. What are we getting into? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I got to do I got to take this picture though for who said that? Sorry, I forgot who to take who's with it. Who? Stanley, where you at, bro? Are you in this garage with us? Yeah, I'm in here with everybody. I'll call in my favorite bike, and then we could take the picture. Yeah, send up. All right. Yeah. Guys, one of our recruits needs to take a picture of us with our favorite bikes. All right, Lena's here. Hang on a sec. Let me let Lena in. What's up, Lena?
Hey, how's it going?
It's
Is
good.
my mic
We're
okay?
good. Yeah, you sound good.
Nice.
Good to see you, Lena.
Hello, remind me your name, I'm sorry.
Oh wait, you still got this like little clipping issue going on, but so does some of the chat. I get so many weird audio issues with this thing. All right, hang on a sec. Let me mute them. Let me mute the game. All right, Lena, do me a favor. Count from 10 to 1.
Testing, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Yeah, it's like
4,
a little bit
3,
of a robot
2,
sound. All right, let's try your. Go to. Do you see the thing to go to settings?
Yeah, I'm following along.
All right, so go to settings, go to audio, and then does it have echo cancellation or noise suppression on? Turn those off, because sometimes that actually helps. Yeah, I think they actually make the audio, they actually screw up my audio a lot of times. I gotta make we should make a video on like the restream settings. I was actually thinking about this.
So yeah, I don't think she knows.
They're not intuitive. But yeah, go ahead, James.
It still says no name on the back studio image. Like people on YouTube aren't seeing it, but here in the studio restream.
Oh,
like
that's that's one of the captions. I don't know where that. It's just the caption, but that's backstage. They can't see that on the stream. That's because we're backstage. Yeah, that's just I think that's like a chat that we didn't. There we go. All right, yeah, I got rid of that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we don't actually need the chat overlay up back here.
So I actually wanted to when Lena was arguing with Rebecca,
go ahead,
or about fascism. I really wanted to join in on that discussion. I was there. I was active in the panel, but I didn't get a chance to say anything. Like I really wanted to kind of back Lena up on this point. I would have used different wording. Different
Hang on a sec. She popped out. Lena, can you hear us?
I don't remember this one.
I think it's outside.
All right, let's wait till she comes back, because actually I want to talk to her about the fascism thing too.
Right, so is everybody in the party or?
Yeah, I'm in here. I'm just talking to people that are calling in my stream, and I'm outside. I'm about to call in my. Can somebody send me an MC invite actually, and then I'll call in my bike for Stanley.
We can't yet. We're doing the center ground training, so whenever once we get it started and everything, if somebody invites you to something, that means you're on their team.
Oh, all right. So I'll have my mechanic call it in for
pick.
now. No worries.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dodgeball pick, bro. At the moment right now, I'm just trying to get 2 captains. So do we got component ramble?
Pictures or what? With the bikes? We gonna do it?
Yeah, Stanley's doing it right now. Stanley, did you not get that?
Did you get it, Stanley?
I know he said he has something else to do too. Is he out there with you guys? He might have got it real quick.
I'm trying to call on my bike for him right now.
There's a lot going on.
Just give me a sec, James.
Yeah, here we go, right here. That's a good shot of me right there. Yeah. Maybe I should put on my office.
Man, they destroyed all my bobbers. So now I gotta call them in from the insurance, so I can call in my favorite bike. All right, hang on a sec. Let's see. I think Lena's back. All right, Lena, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Am I any better?
I don't. A little bit, but I still think that thing is happening. I don't know what it is. But yeah, getting rid of those probably helps. Actually, try counting again.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
It is. Yeah, it is better. It's definitely not as noticeable.
If it stays there, it's good enough.
Yeah. No. All right, James, you were going to ask her the question about the fascism thing.
So
and then
I really
I want
wanted
to follow up on... Yeah, but we held it up to wait for you to get back, Lena, so you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I really wanted to help out with that. And, the whole panel, just bailed on Lena with that point. Like, she was all alone against Rebecca and Christianity's point. Like, nobody was backing her up. And even though I would have used different language to make some of the points with, there was merit there. There was some things to be said. But I didn't get a chance to speak. Like, Rebecca's show, I'm probably not going to be in it anymore anyways, but, it needs some kind of, buzzer or light that you can hit or something to let people know you really want to say something, because I could have helped with that discussion, but I couldn't.
Who would speak, Captain?
There was just no real opportunity to.
Yeah, to be honest, it almost there's always pluses and minuses to these systems, but it could almost use a hand raise feature that you find on Zoom.
Right. Yep. It needs something like that.
Yeah. And so that's kind of interesting.
I think Blood already volunteered.
Yeah. I think there's just always different ones. I think maybe with Discord there's a feature like that you can get going eventually.
You with the face.
Come back here. Come back here.
All right, I still gotta find this. Go ahead.
I want to go to sleep.
It don't matter.
Yeah, James, just lay it on us now.
So I don't have too long. I had to probably be off here in 15, 20 minutes tops. But for real quick, Hitchens talked about a lot about related issues. He preferred using words like totalitarian and authoritarian, but he did sometimes say fascist and here's the thing, he started talking about Bibles and what Bibles say, and then people like Rebecca want to interrupt you and say, well, you can't hold it against us what Bibles say. You can only hold it against us what we say, which is the same as saying we don't say the same thing Bibles say. it's either the same or it's not the same. Now, if they take the position that they accurately represent what's in Bibles and that they, whatever's in Bibles accurately represents them, then they don't get to differentiate. They don't get to draw a line or put a wall there and say, well, you can't hold it against us what's in a Bible if we aren't specifically saying and doing the thing, unless they're prepared to admit that they don't actually read, understand, or live by what's in the Bible. So you can't have it both ways. So as far as fascism is kind of a complex topic. It gets kind of muddy depending on how you define it. And that's why Hitchens, whenever he would talk about the issue, he would lead into it talking about authoritarianism and how it is the necessary and inevitable foundation of fascism. And their religion is inherently authoritarian. It even now Rebecca kind of plays it clever in a sort of way, because she supports a larger religious ecosystem of fascists and totalitarians and authoritarians, but she's like kind of the cheering section. Like, so as long as, in her mind, as long as she doesn't say anything, or as long as she doesn't preach anything that is overtly fascist or authoritarian or totalitarian or whatever, then she's not guilty of it. And so, but at the same time, she identifies as part of a larger whole of Christianity, which big giant parts of it are very, very actively guilty of it. I mean, that's the whole reason Roe versus Wade got overturned. And it's just, and even with S.J. Thomason, Rebecca is always plugging her channel, and they interview each other, and she's completely supportive of S.J. Thomason. But S.J. Thomason is heavily fascist. She's heavily.
Give me one sec. I'm just trying to get my bike in.
Yep.
I totally agree on that about the SJ, about her position.
Yeah, so she wants to have it both ways. So she supports a larger religious ecosystem that is deeply authoritarian, and it's anti-personal liberty, anti-rights. They literally want a fascist totalitarian theocracy. She knowingly supports and identifies with that larger ecosystem, but she's one of the people that kind of sit back and say, as long as she's not saying, as long as she's not one of the people trying to take your rights away, as long as she's not one of the people that are trying to promote this idea, as long as she's kind of quiet about it, keeps it on the down low, then that means you can't call her out for it. But she openly endorses the larger whole of this infrastructure, where big parts of it are actively, aggressively trying to turn America and the world, if they could, but for now, America, trying to turn it into a totalitarian, authoritarian, fascist theocracy, blatantly. So she can't have it both ways, but she thinks she can. And so she was always like, well, you can't hold it against me if other Christians say this thing or do this thing. And my position is, like, hell, we can't. Of course we can. You're the cheerleader for that larger entity that does the thing that we're talking about. You don't get to say, well, since you're not personally plastering those slogans on your banner, right? Since you're not personally, like, trying to get Trump reelected or whatever, that you're not guilty of it. You're complicit in the entire thing. You're just a PR cheering section for it. That's all. So that's like the gist of the point that I wanted to make.
And Cameron Bennett said in the chat, S.J. Thomason is trash. And I recently just discovered S.J. Thomason, and just one of the worst.
She's a horrible human being. She's absolutely. And that's the thing. Rebecca needs to decide, does she want to differentiate herself from that and separate herself from that, or does she want to continue to endorse it and support it and identify with it? And I've made this point with other Christians before. I'm like, look, every time, even the Jimmy Carters of the world. Now, Jimmy Carter is a great man as far as I'm concerned. He's out there and he's doing a lot of wonderful works in the world, and he's not, he's not a Trump supporter. He's not trying to create a theocracy. He's not none of that shit. But at the same time, without realizing it, he's supporting the larger.
James, give me 1 sec. Guys, give me 1 sec. I gotta grab a charger from my tablet here.
No worries. Yeah, it is kind of the problem with just liberal Christians in general. It kind of makes me think, like, if you were a Nazi in 1935, that's fine. But if you're still a Nazi by 1939, there's some problems there, right? Like, you need to find a new slogan, a new group to identify with. And it also reminds me of that quote from Martin Luther King Jr. talking about the moderate white Christian, or I don't know exactly what his phrasing was, but his problem wasn't exactly with the radicals, it was with the larger group that's complicit with that action or
and she's
undertaking.
complicit with the larger structure that is openly fascist. So she changes her definition of Christianity based on the moment. If she needs to, and all the Christians that I know of do that. So in one particular context, if they think that the strongest position for them to take is to say, look, there are this many billions of Christians in the world, we can't all be crazy, that whole argumentum ad populum bandwagon fallacy, then all of a sudden we're all Christians, right? And if there's an atheist in the room they need to debate a point against, they're all part of a big brotherly organization of brotherly love and sisterly love, and they're all one big happy family, right? And they're all oppressed, by the way. But then when the atheist leaves the room and they no longer have to put out this front, now they're not all one big happy family. Now, all those other churches are wrong and they're going to hell because they got the wrong version of the message, but we're one of the special true ones. They flip-flop constantly on what is and isn't a Christian, who is and isn't part of the larger Christian body. So, in certain contexts, Rebecca will identify herself as part of the larger Christian body. But the moment you start talking about what big, giant parts of that larger body do, oh, well, I'm not part of any of that. I'm like, yeah, you are. It's like, explain to these people.
It almost feels like a form of dog whistle.
Well,
would you say that's what she's doing?
Elaborate on that a bit for me.
Well, the whole thing with dog whistling is that you use phrases and terminology that relays the underlying subtle message that people who are spreading it aren't always necessarily in the loop about, or like they have some of the political leanings, but again, it's not going all the way to the extreme. But it's like a signaling for people listening who are more extreme that they can basically identify and be in agreement with the more liberal position.
Sure. That's an element of what's happening, absolutely. And my thing is, I'm like, look, if you wave the Christian banner, the big giant cross, the word Christianity across it, whether it's literal or just as a metaphor, if you stand underneath that banner, if you stand upon that platform and you do PR work for the banner, you do PR work for the platform, for the name, for the label, for the general religious theme, then you are complicit in whatever that larger structure does, even if the larger structure does things that you specifically don't agree with. You're complicit. You're helping them accomplish it. If you go out there and you do a bunch of good deeds, you start a charitable organization, and you create this idea in society that, wow, look, Christians are great. They're invested in the community. They're invested in humanity. They're out there doing good deeds. Man, I sure do love that whole Christianity thing. Those people are awesome. We need more Christians in the world. If you create that kind of, or if you help maintain that kind of an attitude in society where people are so supportive and endorsing of Christianity because they see it as this force of good in the world because they're ignorant. If you do that, then what happens is the worst versions, the S.J. Thomasons of the world, some of the other more insidious figures that we see in the news sometimes. I can't think of their names offhand, but then what happens?
Say S.J. Thompson is like moderate compared to some of these extreme.
Right, there's even worse ones than S.J. So what happens is,
like, let's be clear, there's a genocide being called for LGBTQ plus members. Like,
of course there is.
It's gotten to that level of extreme.
Sure, it has. I mean, they know that they're the sole driver as a cultural phenomenon behind all the LGBT youth suicides every year. They know. They know that they're driving constant children and young adults to suicide, and others even more close to that with the amount of stress that they cause them. And do they care? No, they don't care.
Yeah, but the liberal transphobe, right? That's the problem. It's not the ones that are calling for their deaths. It's the one that say, well, you know, they're not real women or whatever, right? It's like you're implicit in this broader problem.
Well, if they're all
yeah.
guilty
To me,
of
guys, hang on a second. It's also the hate the sin, hate not the sinner Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Sure.
well, I flipped the script with that one. Do you remember the end of it? I was like, love the fascist, hate the fascist.
Right, yeah, I remember that. That was good. I liked it. So what happens is that you cultivate this idea in society that Christians are all good, or that the general movement is good. And then what happens is the really worst versions of that larger network will step up and say, hey, did you notice all the great things Christianity's been doing? Why don't you come on in and sing some praises with us? Because you know we're good guys. Everybody knows Christians are good guys. So they capitalize on this good PR that the fluffy versions give them. And the fluffy versions know it, and the fluffy versions don't care. Now, if Rebecca goes around telling people you need to accept Jesus, so you probably should learn more about the Jesus that you're going to accept. Don't you want to live forever? Blah, blah, blah. It works on some people. It doesn't work on most, but it works on some. So what happens is somebody that it works on, they'll go home and they'll think about it over days, weeks, months, whatever, and they'll come to the point where they're like, you know what? I think that's right. I'm going to look more into this. And what they'll do is they'll walk down to their nearest church, or they'll drive down to the nearest church. Random church with random belief structure. Because the person like Rebecca that's saying just accept Jesus isn't being specific enough for it to mean a damn thing. And so the person will just randomly pick a church in their neighborhood. And when they do that, there's a good chance with that dice roll, they're going to end up in a church of a worse version. Right? And so they end up in this church. They end up in this system of mind control and manipulation where they get mentally manipulated by this game, this con, into thinking that this church is where God led them, where the Holy Spirit led them, and now they've accepted Jesus. And if they come back and tell somebody like Rebecca, I've joined this church over here, I've accepted Jesus, Rebecca's not going to ask you what those specific beliefs are for that church. She's going to say, I am so glad you've accepted Jesus, because now you're guaranteed a ticket to heaven. And so the whole time, this other person has joined this awful version who's teaching them awful things, and they go home and they abuse their children in the name of this awful version, because the awful version tricks them into thinking that abuse is love. It weaponizes them against their own loved ones. And they go home and they do all kinds of hella damage. And Rebecca's sitting at home all fluffy with flowers and rainbows thinking, I've done a good deed. Now this person who may or may not have gotten into heaven for sure will now. And she's not thinking about the implication, the ramifications, the impact that she's having on people's lives if her message, if her outreach works. She's not taking responsibility for what random church that person's going to pick when they go home and they think about this, and then they go looking for a church to satisfy the very, very vague conditions for getting into heaven that Rebecca sold them on when she did her outreach. She's not accepting responsibility for any of the damage that causes, including the ripple effect of how many youth will end up killing themselves, literally killing themselves, because of the pressures that they have at home, because of the stupid cult religion that their parents joined, because of stupid people like Rebecca saying, it doesn't matter which church, just join one.
Yeah, it's a very harmful message, and it's a if you can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen type of thing. Cameron asked, do you guys feel like Rebecca can be effective to bring on the fence people to Jesus? I don't think that what she does is probably that great. I'll put it to you this way. I don't know if what she does on YouTube is that great for evangelism. I think she may be a great evangelist, like in her personal life or in her whatever. But I do think that her particular brand of apologetics has the ability to be effective because of the fact that people want to believe that like your friendly sort of neighborhood normal person is like into this apologetics and buys it stuff. And I think she almost gives more legitimacy to the scholars than vice versa, right? Because I don't think anybody really cares about the intellectual side or what the philosophical arguments are. I don't think they're really into that. But I think if they see like that's sort of my thing with my crowd, right? Is like my friends from church. It's like they're interacting with more regular quote unquote Christians than apologists are. So in a way, what they think and how they believe and how they practice their faith is more relevant to me than some triple PhD who doesn't go to church, right?
Right.
And so I think Rebecca, as the type of, at least who we imagine is the type of Christian who raises a Christian family and goes to the church and starts her stuff by singing a hymn and reads the Bible, and it might be her Sunday school teacher, right? She's putting over intelligent design and, you know, capturing Christianity and all the others. And so, yeah, I think there's, so I think her effectiveness is, sorry, to answer the question, is not as an evangelist with her content, but ironically as a very effective apologist, although she might be an evangelist in her real life. What do you guys think?
I think she's effective as a friendly face.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just gonna mention like the stark difference between evangelism and apologetics. I think the latter is mostly about maintaining believers, right? And then the former is, you know, entirely an emotional appeal. It seems, or largely that.
How much do you think of it is identity? Like for my family, right? It's. And I don't. Identity seems like the weird. Like in other words, I hate to say this about my family, but like, I don't think their theology is that great, right? Because I don't think they spend any time thinking about the matter seriously. Or at least not that they share with me, right? It's more like the God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. So of course you should be a Christian, and Jesus is love, right?
Right.
And so for them, it's like being a good person. Like my mom wrote me this thing, and it was like, it talked about how she wants to be like a woman of her word for God, right? And then the whole thing she described about her identity actually had nothing to do with God at all, or the Bible, or any of that. It was just like the salutation to the dear leader at the top, and then humanism all the way down to the bottom, right?
Right.
So to your point, for people like that, like they don't. My family does not know what this stuff is. I've had to like try to explain to my mom very awkwardly what apologetics is, only so I can explain what counter-apologetics is, which is really weird because it's like trying to talk to your mom about her faith only so you can tell her you make fun of it on the internet. And she needs to be really proud of you because it's a really big deal and you're growing, you know, like God. But seriously, like I think she would much more relate to Rebecca, right, than to your Seitan, Brugge, and Kate. Okay, she would find Darth Dawkins or whatever totally off-putting and just he's a jerk. He doesn't represent anything. Rebecca sounds like somebody she goes to church with.
Right. And that has appeal. And the identity thing is really the big hook. You know, if you get somebody in life that's emotionally raw and overwhelmed, and they feel empty or worthless or disgusting because of the way that they've been raised or because of some terrible mistake they've made in life, and they can't seem to shake the stigma, and they just want to feel like they've been cleansed and refreshed and renewed and all of that, so they can feel good about who they are. Christianity has this narrative that plays upon that psychological mechanism, that psychological need of those very vulnerable people, and it preys upon them. Like
Absolutely. And so my thing is with that, and this is hard because again, for me, it's very personal, right? It's very counter-apologetic against my mother or against my grandmother.
Sure.
And it's that's just as bad, because I hate to say it, they're the real suckers, right? Like, to me, my grandfather, right? Both my grandparents retired from like very real jobs. My grandfather was a longshoreman. My grandmother was a dispatcher at the police department, and they cleaned businesses in their spare time and whatever else, right?
Yep.
And instead of like, retiring and like living somewhere nice and getting the hell out of the hood and, like letting my mom help take care of them and playing golf or something, they're like, spending most of their retirement fund to keep the lights on at their, dying congregation, and the building's way too large for the congregation, right? And so they're the true believers who visit the sick and wash the feet and do the school supply drives for the kids and all that stuff, right? But they give and they give and they give, and it's all to this, sort of false cause, right? And it's sad to me. But to me, like, you have to be willing to do the counter-apologetics, because if you really want to save these people from religion, the fastest way, in my opinion, to get them away from it is to help them realize that it's just not true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was stuck in that whole culture until Dark Matter 25's video about the Great Flood shook me from it. I watched that and I was like, damn.
Now, talk to me about this, because I found this community sort of after I was already converted, and I felt really alone in my sort of struggle. But I'm finding more and more people who actually say YouTube or the content creators did actively play a role in their deconversion, whereas for me, it was more like support after abuse. What about you, Lena?
Well, the first thing I always had doubts growing up, but I grew up in the church, and I was pretty devout, I would say. Like, I was about it, I was a Jesus freak, and I remember going to mission trips, and I go to the church, at least twice a week, and then we moved from the Chicago area to California, so that was like a really big change for me, and I saw the Christians in California were not exactly what I was expecting, for the Christian values that I was expecting. It was very cliquey and just not great. So there was a lot of doubts that I already had, about the Old Testament and flooding and sin and suffering. And so I ended up taking this apologetics course that was taught by my small group leader. So like, this was like really big for me. I was actually super excited for it. I was like, finally, I'm going to be able to prove to people that God exists. I'm going to go out and I'm going to evangelize. I'm going to have my arguments in defense, and I'll be able to convince my dad and all this, And I went into it, and I took the class, and at the end, I was just dumbstruck. I was like, these are so bad. Every single one was, and I didn't need to look at any videos or anything yet at that point.
Lena, that was actually me with weed.
These are illogical.
Like, we had some dare shit or whatever in my school, and I literally started looking up weed because I thought I could do like a better job of keeping my friends who were starting to smoke pot from doing it. And it was like the most wrong I had ever been about anything. Like, I was like, like, I remember, you never forget the feeling in life the first time you were really, really confident and strong, and maybe even making fun of people who didn't believe like you believe, and then you came to realize you were wrong about that thing.
Yeah.
And I actually think that was a very
It was the start of that
important
process.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. I'm gonna keep going, but yeah, that's what it triggered, that memory, that feeling.
Yeah, and it's definitely like a sudden experience of just like, not quite, pulling the wool off your eyes, but just starting to realize that like you might have been duped, and that level of doubt for Christians is like sin. You don't go there,
right?
You don't doubt that far. And we had started we watched one debate on YouTube. I think it was William Lane Craig and Hitchens, which was not one of the best, philosophical debates by any measure.
Wait, which ones was this? Hitchens versus who?
This was Hitchens and William Lane Craig.
Oh
and
yeah,
I thought
that was a
Hitchens
big one for
just
me. That was a big
destroyed him.
debate for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually watched that in the apologetics course, and
oh really?
Of course, my small group leader sides with William Lane Craig. Yeah, and it was really interesting because I felt like almost a double agent. I felt like I was sitting in this class thinking like, what did I just watch? Like that was the first Atheist, and it just like blew my mind. And then my small group leader is like not getting it, and like I had to sit through the rest of that class, and there were so many times where I wanted to like keep questioning and keep pushing like the bizarreness of it. Like one of the worst ones was the Euthyphro dilemma, right? And it, literally I just got the answer, oh, it's circular. Like God is good and good is God, and don't ask more about it. And so that is what launched me into YouTube.
What's that called?
The Euthyphro dilemma.
Euthyphro? I've never heard that term.
Oh, that's classic. You gotta pull that up real quick.
And it's just, and it ends in God is good all the time.
Well, so the dilemma is the whole, if God is perfect, it goes through the omni traits, right? If God is all loving, here, pull it up.
Who, me? I'm trying to fight people right now.
Oh, sorry. Here, I'll pull it up.
Yeah. You can pull it up and read it. That's fine.
So I've got to leave here in a.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, James.
But if you guys are still around, like in a half hour, I'll be back. But if you're not, then I'll have to.
I think I'm gonna start the Christopher Hitchens series at 10, so you can come through there, and we could probably talk then.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit.
All right, I'll see you later.
All right, bye. Oh, and Cameron, thanks for all the great comments in the chat.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Cameron.
Yeah, I really do read them. It's just that sometimes I get on the roll. When you get me to where I'm like really engaged on a topic, especially a religious topic, I like just keep running and running with it. You got to tell me to shut up.
Yeah, the multitasking is hard too. It's a real challenge.
Yeah, definitely. You do a pretty great job with it, better than I could do. So
thanks.
I'll see you guys in a bit.
Thanks, James.
So,
that was
Lena,
awesome.
what do you do in general? Because to me, like my thinking is you're kind of in a lose-lose situation, because the conversations you really want to have are sort of these hard-hitting ones, but they're sort of by definition like the most triggering, right? So to me, it's like, yeah, we need to have the Christianity is fascism conversation, but how do you get past how triggered they are just by the fact that you're like, all right, if you want to know what I really want to talk about, I want to talk about why your religion is fascism. But the thing is, I've noticed is you're very friendly, and they mostly tend to really like interacting with you. So I mean, how do you what are some tips you've got for people? I know it's not always hard. I know you go into LPP and it's I think that's a space, the more reasonable you are, the like less reasonable he's gonna be, because that's just undermines his whole thing. But in general.
Well, it's curious because I know that Matt Dillahunty gets results, right? So I think we need a mix, like I said, of different styles of atheism and counter-apologetics.
Sure.
I think that being firm on different issues and not ceding certain ground is important. But at the same time, like I think with Bread of Life and that community, like they're not going to be accepting of, Matt Dillahunty types, much less Aaron Ra types, Aaron Ra.
Yeah.
So, there's a spectrum here, and the community that we have, we're a nice community. We're safe, friendly atheists. But it's an important job to like skirt around their emotions and their identity without, we're still atheists at the end of the day. I don't know. None of their arguments are compelling, so we can be nice about different interpretations of the Bible or different like odd concepts, but at the end of the day, none of it adds up.
Right.
It's tricky. I mean, honestly, I was gonna ask James, like, what do we do about Rebecca? Like, I don't really know what the solution is.
I go and I go back.
I think.
God.
I was just gonna say, I think the reason why Matt Dillahunty is effective, it's not that he's effective to the people he's arguing with, right? I have a feeling like most of the people he argues with just see him as like an ass or whatever, and don't respond well.
Right.
But it's the people who watch the show, right? And so maybe we just need to focus on the audience and not worry too much about these
I think that was
stuck up apologists.
If you go to the, did you watch the Pine Creek Trent Horn debate? No, I think maybe I asked you about this. I don't know, maybe
I haven't, or maybe I did. I don't think I did. I haven't watched Pine Creek up until.
But yeah, he basically he to your point, he basically focused on talking to Trent Horn's audience. Like I heard, like he did a like a afterward stream, and some of the people that were critiquing Pine Creek, like they called him and say, hey man, like good job, but like maybe I'd have done this differently or whatever. I disagreed with a lot of the people that were critiquing him because they were critiquing him, telling him how he could have been more effective at debating Trent Horn. And so they weren't giving him bad advice. He's not a debater, right? So they were just giving him some standard, like, be more effective at debating advice. But I was like, no, the brilliance of the way he did it was not being a debater, therefore not caring what people think of his debate form. Like, he just stuck with the, you know, he would even say things like, Christians watching, I beg of you, don't lower your standard for Jesus, right? Making like explicit appeals to the audience watching rather than sit up here and pretend that you're going to be the one person who gets Trent Horn, the professional Catholic apologist, to change his mind on something, right? Like he just knew that wasn't going to happen. He wanted to do the flying man. He did a really thorough job of, you know, doing the whole flying man thing effectively with Trent Horn. And then tying it to getting the audience to not lower their standards. So I often think of it that way. I have very little hope for these apologists, almost none. To be honest with you, I just think, and politically, I think the same thing, right? I think the point of political conversation is almost done to me, right? You are dealing with people who only respect power. That's it. So the more you talk, you're just doing them a favor. What they want you to do is have a conversation so they can go, oh, yeah, you said some really great things today. I'm going to go home and think about that. And then they're going to vote the way they've been voting or believe the way they've been leaving or behave the way they've behaving. Because, again, in their worldview, hey, they heard you out. They were nice to you. They had the conversation, right? That makes them an incredibly reasonable person. And so it's like, look, and you've said this, right? Like, you're only going to get the rights you fight for. And so I think it's good to have the conversations in good faith, but I think at the end of the day, I don't have a lot of hope for the interlocutor. I hope to maybe get through to the audience. And at the end of the day, even the audience, I think we just got to do what we got to do because we can't wait to get them on our side.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And to tie it back into the earlier conversation, I think maybe not half, but part of what the atheist YouTube community did for me in my deconversion wasn't just the atheist side, it was the Christian side and seeing how bad these apologists were. So it's almost like let them beat themselves up.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to... I think Godless Girl really failed on that one. And I don't mean to like call her out or anything. Like I thought she won that debate hands down from the beginning. But it's like in a debate like that, just close your eyes, put your hands behind your back, stick out your cheek, and let the other person flop. Right? And then in 2 seconds, they'll be KO'd on the floor wondering what happened, and you'll just be standing there. But instead, she's, wailing on the guy when he's already dead.
I didn't see the debate, so describe what happened.
Well, I mean, she just got triggered from the start, and it was weird because they made her go first, even though the other guy was in, the affirmative.
Right.
So the whole debate was pretty well.
Yeah. Also, the standard of debate moderation on the YouTube channels is even the ones that are supposed to be debate moderation channels are just like, no, just don't even.
Yeah, this isn't this isn't publicly funded. This isn't
right.
I feel like this should be like a key part of the education system, but obviously that's not going to happen. But I think it's important that YouTube's there for religious people to be able to find these different debates and stuff, and to be able to listen to atheists that are kind and compassionate and reasonable.
Yeah, also, like, I just think people don't have, it's all about access, right? And this is even a critique I have of my my academic colleagues, right? The university is just no longer the platform, the largest education platform, or even the most relevant. Like, I think, I'm biased, but I would say YouTube probably is, there's other platforms, right? But for most of the world, access to figure out how to become a plumber by watching enough YouTube videos is far more likely than, going to a university to become whatever. Like, and I'm not saying that, again, I want to be a professor. I'm not saying there's no place for it. I'm just saying, people should wake up, and I think this is, I'm preaching to the choir because I'm talking on YouTube, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people in academia who don't get this, right? They don't get that, like, people are learning from videos. A lot of that's having a really profound influence on them. Influencers and content creators have a lot more influence on people than scholars and research does, and they just kind of need to go with the times. But yeah, go ahead. We don't have to go on about that.
YouTube is free.
There you go. That's the number one thing. That's it. There you go. YouTube is free and it's in your pocket, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I could go on and kind of allude to like the nature of science and how it's going to continually stratify and fill in these really niche topics where no one can be an expert unless you are an expert, in which case you don't know anything about any of the other really niche topics, right? So it's harder and harder to get a broad layman's perspective of what the scientific consensus is. And I think that's what's so important about science educators, right? That's really what you are and what this is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I guess the only thing I'm gonna do is I need to kind of.
I found the Euthyphro dilemma real quick. If you don't mind, I can just.
No. Go ahead and read it. I got a little, and then I'll start up the Christopher Hitchens thing.
Yeah, so it's found in Plato's Euthyphro, where Socrates asks Euthyphro, "Is the pious loved by the gods because it is pious? Or is it pious because it is loved by the gods?" And it kind of points to how, like, saying
the circular argument, yeah.
God is the ultimate good. It doesn't really tell you what good is. Good it has to be grounded in something other than just the words we use.
Cameron asked how to spell non-stamp collector.
Do you watch him? He's a
no. What is that?
By the way, just FYI for the chat. He's a good channel. I don't remember is it just non-stamp collector? It's kind of like alluding to.
He meant how do you spell the spell the dilemma?
EUTHYPHRO. That's the guy's name.
Euthyphro.
I was just gonna say real quick, FYI for the chat, I'm on my phone, so I can't see the messages while I'm live. But I'll definitely.
So that's what I was wondering about. Yeah. So do you have a computer setup you can call in from?
No, I'm sorry. I wish.
You just do the phone thing. Do you always call in from your phone?
Yeah.
Because I'm just wondering, you always sound fine, then I'm wondering, like, why does it not sound good in the restream? But it might just be a setting or something. I think it's a restream setting. They do they do a lot of processing to try to make people's voices sound better on their phones, but it usually just sounds better without the processing. It just ruins it. Yeah. Also, sometimes do you have a
hope so.
headset? Sometimes the headsets help. But yeah, we deal with the
That
same
I
things
could
in the
probably
PlayStation
buy.
chats. Yeah, sometimes the headsets they help a lot. Yeah, sweet. All right.
Can you
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say if you had a recommendation for a cheap one, but I'll take a look. I'll see if I can find one. Did anyone have any questions in the chat?
Not really. Just something wired. Usually, like just something with a built-in mic. Usually, they're all pretty decent.
Okay, cool.
If you've heard of the company before, it's probably better. Doesn't have to be like Apple, but it could be RCA or whatever. Sony. Oh, I just killed the guy. Whoops.
Oh wait, I can't see the chat. I'm dumb. I think Rebecca is probably effective on bringing people to the fence somewhat.
I think with the Rebeccas of the world is I don't really know what to do. Like I think that they're it's weird. So I do think there's value in having friendships with the other side, right? I'm the pot reform leader who was friends with the chief of police, right? And we used to be friends with the other side, and in politics, right? In politics, there's a crowd called politicos, and it's the politicos on both sides. We're all at the same social functions. We're all at the same dinners, right? So it's kind of all in the same club. But I do think what bothers me about the whole thing really is more the thing with James. Like trying to make somebody who's stating an opinion or their thoughts about what you do, and then sort of using that to be like, well, now I'm mad at you, right? Or almost like, I don't want to be friends anymore because you said this mean thing about my faith. That bothers me, right? Especially because
I do.
She has a lot of influence in this
I was
community.
just gonna
But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, there's a difference between being on a one-on-one call with someone and then being in like a group chat with 16 people. Like, if you're gonna be talking in that, have your point and have it really to the point and succinct. And I think that'll help us with our branding.
Yeah. I just think overall, it's like I don't know what to do. I want to be nice to people and I want to be friendly. I struggle with the same thing with Taylor, right? Like Rebecca gave me Taylor's contact info, and I've got permission to reach out to Taylor. And as much as I want to like rip Taylor a new asshole, it's like, she's a grad student, and while I don't have departmental sort of obligations to her because I don't know her and she's not in my department, but she's not so different than a misguided grad student in my department could be, right? And I certainly wouldn't want to be too hard on them, right? Because I wouldn't want to be so harsh on them that they quit or are discouraged from coming into the field. Like, oh, great, you want to be a cell biologist? That's fantastic. But this is not good science. And that's sort of what I need to see with Rebecca, right? And my suspicion is, and this is just me being honest, I think Rebecca is far more of a committed and strategic apologist than people give her credit for. And I think part of her shtick.
She also engages with atheists.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the shtick too, right? And I think maybe for her, a true believer, right? She may be like, I'm not saying that she's not genuine in her faith, but what I'm suggesting is, I think she's a lot more sophisticated than people give her credit for. And I think she's got all this really well kind of thought through. And I think there's a reason she doesn't mostly advertise her Examining Evolution channel on her Bread of Life channel, because she wants Bread of Life to be her, look, I'm Rebecca, the friendly theist. Whereas on Examining Evolution, she can then more explicitly bring on, you know, these anti-science, quote unquote, scientists without dealing with the type of backlash she knows she would get if she did that on Bread of Life, right? So when you see that type of thing, you got to go like, no, this is a person who's playing the game, right? And you got to realize this sort of milk and cookies housewife thing is part of the shtick, right?
And to be fair, she thinks she's fighting against Satan, so you know,
yeah,
it's a battle for her.
Right. So
you best expect her to come prepared.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like she knows where she's at, right? Like, in other words, what I want to see is, if I have some conversations with her, can I help her understand how what she's been, you know, buying into and promoting isn't good science, and, you know, come on, Rebecca, you can do better. I'll try it.
It's interesting.
I'll try it more so that people see me try it in good faith, not because I think it'll be effective. I think she knows this and she's committed to this dogmatically.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a Jesus hippie sort of strategy, right?
Yes,
like,
yes.
Make love, not war.
Yes.
And that's how we'll win them over.
Yes. But at the same time, she's very much supporting the military wing, right? on the low, right? She's like, hey, I got this other channel, and right, getting coaching from Sal, right? You see what I'm saying? It's like, guys, she's not. This was sort of my thing where I felt like, and I felt this is what I meant about being too nice. Some of them you're playing right into their hand. They set a honey trap for it, and you want to be friendly atheist, so you walked right into it.
But I think it's just about our own egos, our own emotions and needs, and not wanting to be offended, right? Like, I think we can separate
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not civility from the beliefs, right?
Yes,
like, and
I'm also
without.
I'm also trying to be. I hate to sound like a philosophical douchebag, but I'm trying to be descriptive, not prescriptive. I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm just saying I noticed this and I want to start to talk about it, because I really do think there's a sort of tactical way in which they take advantage of our goodwill, especially because they're sitting on some bullshit and, you know, sort of arguing in bad faith to begin with. And so I think we got to be able to find a way to, amongst ourselves, strategize and say, guys, you know, how long are we going to really let them dance in circles, you know, and not call it out for what it is? Because to
again,
me,
that just looks good on our part. So, you know, just get to that point and then make it clear to the audience what's happening, you know? Like, if you can very succinctly and clearly point out where they're being in bad faith and how they're failing to respond to the actual issues, then it's very clear for someone who's not as emotionally invested, who's not the one having their own personal identity attacked on stage. You know, they can sit back and look at it and see how, okay, yeah, the atheist position's kind of making some sense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like kind of what I pointed out, like with Sal. Like he goes on and on for days and years about science this and science that. But when it came right down to it and he got a little bit comfortable with Rebecca and he thought, hey, they had a little evangelical spin to put on their stuff, what did he come out and say? Well, I just decided to take it on faith, and even though I didn't have all the facts and evidence that you would want, I just decided to go ahead and accept this. And I was like, yep. And that was the death nail of your scientific credibility. You know, cool testimony, bro. But like, you know, that was the point at which those of us that are genuinely trying to do science can tune you out, right? Because we don't get to just say, oh, even though we didn't have the facts we wanted, we decided we would accept something on faith, and then get to argue that that's a reasonable scientific position. Sorry, that's not how this game is played, right?
No, don't get to play it. No.
Yep.
What was that clip, Cameron? What was the? Did you get to see that clip?
I don't. Let me look. Because I know he sent me. I think the thing he sent me was that there was a debate yesterday with T-Jump about Sal, and I had already planned to respond to Sal on Bread of Life, and then he was having a debate with T-Jump.
Did you see she's gonna have T-Jump on?
Yeah.
I think that's for tomorrow.
Interesting. That's gonna be interesting. I think that's a real jump into the fire moment, because I think T-Jump will find a way to try to pull that card. But again, I think that, I hate to say this, right? I just feel like if all these people have not gotten through to Rebecca, guys, to me, it's pro wrestling, right? She has figured out who her audience is, who her crowd is, and this is what she does, right? Because, again, she'll sit down with T-Jump and be on the same bullshit after that she is before, right? So we are playing into her. I think she's realized there's a market for this, right? And there's a way to be the atheist forward Christian, and you can become one of the, you can get in people's YouTube rotation, right? And you can get everybody to hang out at Bread of Life for 8 hours. And I'm not hating on it. I just saying people should see it for what it is, and not get too swept up in the Mother Teresa vibes.
For a lot of people, it's just the online watering hole. I mean, with COVID,
I agree.
With capitalism,
I agree.
With everything going on, everyone's so isolated. It's just a way to hang out with some people you feel close to.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I totally agree. All right, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast so that I can come back at 10 o'clock for the Atheist Crew Book Club. And then after that, I'm going to probably come back and just do some gaming tonight, because I actually want to play some games. Man cannot live on Counter-Apologetics alone. I keep trying to tell you Bible nerds that.
I know you're terrible with your aim, but if you ever want to download COD Mobile, we can play that together.
Oh, I was gonna ask you.
All the mobile games. That's all I've got.
I was gonna ask you what you were referring to. COD Mobile. Okay, I'll check it out, because I can play. Yeah, I do have terrible aim, and I also have shaky hands. But I can probably play it with my emulator. So that'll probably be the way it goes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks so much for calling in. Appreciate it. Love you so much. Thank you for being a huge supporter. Lena's the best. We appreciate Lena. Just always on point. Amazing questions, amazing comments. Cameron plays COD Mobile too. All right, so you guys are FPS nerds. You guys are a bunch of COD Mobile guys. I'm glad we started doing the mobile gaming. That was sort of the idea. The idea was basically the same way, StreamYard and Whereby is easier for people to call in than Zoom and Discord. Mobile gaming's a lot easier for people to get down with than having to get a console and figure out crossplay. And like I've been telling these guys, man, a lot of these same titles that you pay $60 or $80 for on the console, there's like a version you can get on the Google store for free. And it might not satisfy all the hardcores, but for most of us, it's more than enough. All right, guys, so I'm going to end this broadcast. This has been fun. I'm trying to break these broadcasts up a little bit so they're a little bit more watchable and rewatchable. So I will probably just do one more combined broadcast today. I'll probably do the Atheist Crew Book Club. and then we'll just flow that straight into the after party. And the after party will probably just be more me hanging out with Sacred Death, maybe in the party, because I'll probably be playing some more arcade games. All right, guys. So, yeah, please put the account in the Discord, and that's definitely helpful. Appreciate you guys using the Discord so much lately. I know that's been a transition for a lot of you guys, but it is getting... let's love those theists out of existence, definitely. All right, guys, 20 minutes on the clock. Go to the bathroom, grab a snack. I'm going to probably let my dog out, do all the things you got to do. We'll be back at 10 o'clock for the Atheist Crew Book Club. All right, guys, in the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you all. I will see you shortly. Poof.